One of the things before we start, one of the things that I ask all of you as principals is to, just like I am today, going to be brutally honest with you about the way I was when I did instructional rounds and the way I am now. And so all I ask of you is to be honest with yourselves when you look at yourself now, and not beat yourselves up, but talk to yourselves and say, you know, there are some areas that I'm really good at, and there are some areas that I need to get better at as far as instruction rounds and walkthroughs. Before we start, though, one of the things that I want you to do is I want you to take a look at, with a partner, if it's, and actually I prefer it to be, if it's a colleague, that's great. If you're on an island and you're only principal and your superintendent isn't here, find someone that you can talk to. And I want you to do two things for me. I want you to take about 2 minutes. And over the past 5 years, I want you to think of all the things, professional development-wise, that you have asked your staff to do the last 5 years. Now, if you're a newer staff member, go from the beginning of of your tenure at your current school, and think, and I want you to write down every piece, professional development-wise, you have asked your staff to do. 2 minutes. Okay, Ed, how much time did I give you? 2 minutes. Mark, what did I ask you to do?
Write down everything that you've had your staff do in the last 5 years.
Okay, professional development. It can either be technology, it can be instructional, it can be curriculum, anything that you can think of. I want you to write it down. Go. Okay, time's up. Back up here. How many things can you guys think of? How many of you thought of at least five? 5 things. Raise your hand. 10? 15? Okay. Over 15? Way to go, Niobrara. Awesome. Now, here's my next question. I'm in that boat. I was the principal that had the Christmas list every year. I was the one that 3 years ago said, hey, Pierce is doing some really cool things one-to-one. Mr. Marks, the superintendent, can we do that too? And so we did some planning and implemented that for my teachers. We looked at, we did curriculum revamps. We did instructional revamps. We added a new instructional tool. We do APL. We added the Danielson model of evaluation. We threw a slug of things at our staff. A slug of things. Now, here's my next question. How many things have you've added a bunch of stuff. How many things have you taken away from your staff? Because you haven't given them more hours. I guarantee you that. Because you haven't gotten any more hours either. Because you obviously, we're the worst at putting work on ourselves. I'm in that boat as well. How many things have you taken away from your staff? Very few, if any. And the reason why is it's all important. It's all important. Every single thing that you put in your building is important for your kids. Every single thing. And it has to be seen through. The one thing that we do a really bad job at, and I am the worst at it, is streamlining things for our staff. Which is where I lead into this instructional piece that we created. One of the things that we did a couple years ago is we put in we put in a model, we put in the Danielson model. Now understand, WASA has undergone a lot of things. We put a one-to-one program in. We basically overhauled our curriculum after year 1 of NISA because our curriculum did not meet the needs. My second year there did not meet the needs of what we needed. So we overhauled. We overhauled reading, math, science. Overhauled it. I had in my building 6 years ago, the average age of my staff in the elementary was 62. Now understand, I am a small district. I have 24 staff members, K through 12. The average age of my staff was 62. Now, in my elementary, average age of my staff, 28, and that's including a 50-year-old. Okay, pretty young group. High school is a more veteran staff, but we're seeing the same thing. We're starting to see some turnover there, retired. And so these newbies are coming in, these probationary teachers are coming in with a whole lot to learn and not much to guide them, including myself. One of the things that we did a few years ago to try to make our system better was we put in the Danielson model of evaluation. Going into it, we were really excited about it. Started my Danielson model evaluation cycles in the fall and thought, holy cow. What I just did to every single one of my teachers, I gave them the test before the instruction. They were bombing it. Even my good teachers were bombing it, left and right. I had to totally rethink of what I was going to do with my staff. Another thing so the next thing we looked at is after that we thought, okay, this isn't working. What's the next step? Well, Marzano workshop came up. Went to there. Sat there with Joan. Sat there with a few others. Yep, with Margaret. And Phil was going over all the Marzano strategy. And the first thing I thought of was, holy cow, now I'm throwing something new at them. I couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. And so what I did at the end of it is I said, how the heck can I streamline what I'm doing to make this easier for teachers? And to make my job easier. Because I'm telling you, if I'd have thrown Marzano at them after all the other things I'd thrown at them, my good teachers would have taken it and rolled with it. They always do. But the ones I really needed to reach, the ones that are already struggling in their classroom, would have either said, heck with you, the vocal ones, or the non-vocal ones would either put a dog in a pony show or not do it. And so what we did was we created, I spent a day afterwards, I spent a day with Rhonda and Kellen, and we looked at the things in Marzano. Now one thing I knew is my school is not a Marzano school. It's not. I have a few select teachers that work in Marzano, but overall my school is not a Marzano school. I had to find a common language of instruction. And so one of the things that we did was we said, what is the most common language of instruction in our building? Phil hit big on learning objectives, how important learning objectives were. Last year, if I'd have asked my teachers to describe learning objective, I had got 15 different answers. Guarantee it. Anywhere from lesson plans on the wall, to this is what we're doing for the day, this is your homework. And so we had to make something easy for my staff to follow, and that they could understand, and that I could walk through and evaluate their walk, not evaluate, sorry, that's a bad word, that's bad language, I'm sorry. Observe what they are doing day to day and how to effectively coach them. And so what we did was we created a poster. Our language of common instruction. One of the things that I handed out was a cheat sheet to you guys. All my staff have this on their wall. It ties in Danielson. It's got some Marzano kind of sneaked into it. But the biggest thing that we saw was the one thing that all my teachers know is APL. It's the oldest thing that we have. It is the one thing that they really like overall. And it's the most effective thing, I think, as far as instructional coaching that I could use. So it's APL with the Danielson tied to it, and the Marzano snuck in there. Okay, when I talk to my new teachers now, or any teacher, we talk about the 3 steps. They call it the pyramid. I never called it the pyramid, but they end up calling it the pyramid. One of the things that we talked about on there is rules and procedures, the foundational portion of our instruction. Understand, this is tailored to Wausau. You can take this and tailor it any way you want. But one of the things that we talked about in our rules and procedures, the one thing that we saw was the biggest lack in my building was consistent start and end time of instruction every day. I have some teachers that take 5 minutes or more between, they have a passing period done, and they take about 5 minutes to finally get them started. And so we have a 50-minute period, you cut out 5 minutes, by the end of the year, that adds up to a lot of lost instruction. We already lose a lot of lost instruction throughout the year because of playoff games and PD and snow days and other things. We lose a lot of instruction anyway. So we've got to take every little bit of instruction we can have. So that's one thing we talked about. Start and end time each day. Learning objective posted for each day. Simplest way I talk to my staff about this. I said, guys, a learning objective is what are we learning today? That's it. Because I think a lot of teachers when they were going through school in their pedagogy, had a lot of different philosophical things behind objectives. We simplified it. What are we learning today? What is your class learning today? And the second thing on that, why are you learning it? Because if kids don't have a reason behind what they're learning, they're going to tune you out. Especially those kids that really need to be focused in there. Consistent checking for understanding, 3 to 5 minutes. It can either be individual, whole group. If it's individual, you need to have it more frequently. If it's whole group, you need to have it less frequently. Just make sure when you do whole group that you get around that room. Instructional day is planned to maximize student engagement and learning, and then classroom learning environment is set up to maximize student engagement and learning. What I told my young people, my first year teachers, I had 3 of them this year. When I met with them the day before the day before the other teachers came in, I said, guys, I coached this and said, guys, if you do nothing but this and work on the professional side, you don't fall on the professional side, in other words, you handle yourself with professional conduct, I will rehire you. All of a sudden, that took all of the stress off them. Because if you look at that, that's really what we need, in a nutshell. If you do nothing but this, work hard on this, continue to work on these portions, I'll help you, I'll coach you through it, but if you do nothing but the red this year, learn your classroom, learn your curriculum, learn our system, I'm going to rehire you. Now the next part, we talk about the intro and the conclusion of your classroom being the most important. We talk about bell ringer and closure. Bell ringer and APL is usually a review, and so a lot of them will do a quick, what they call, they change the content to a warm-up. They call it a warm-up. Now, what they call our bell ringer is 2 parts. Teacher-led, student-led. What are we learning today? Student-led, why are we learning this? The best part about this, what we talked about when I worked with Rhonda, when I worked with Kellen, is that now my new teachers, if nothing else, they don't have to plan that. I don't care what class you are in, if you are a kindergartner, or if you're teaching kindergarten, or if you're teaching AP government, there's your bell ringer, already done for you. Easy. Simple. Teachers liked it because it was already done for them. Now, if you want to go on and extrapolate on that and make it bigger, oh, by all means, please do. That's awesome. I hope that you do. But if nothing else, the very minimum, you read off that. And you work with your kids on that answer. Now, if the students can't find a reason, show them the reason and then have them rediscuss. Okay? Talk the reason and have them rediscuss. Closure. What did we learn today? What did we learn today, kids? It can either be think, pair, share. It can either be whole group. And then a summative assessment. Something small at the end of the day. An exit ticket. And it's something as simple, if you don't want to do an exit ticket, something as simple as you do an extended wait time. In other words, or you call it a think, pair, share, depending if you're not APL. You talk in the group or partners, bring it back. I have a English teacher who liked to do a journal. He journals every day. He does a quick paragraph at the end of every day for his juniors. It kills 2 birds with 1 stone. He has them use the rubric for the writing standards, and then he can do a quick look as they walk out and find out do they really understand it. And then finally, on the top, if they get through that part, I'm going to tell you first off before we move on. None of my staff have got this far yet. We're all working in here. Some of them are starting to dabble up here, but none of us have mastered this yet. It's first year. We're getting better at it, but none of us have mastered this yet. Okay, it takes time. And that's one thing I told my staff at the beginning of the year, to put ease on them. Because they've got all these other things going on too. Is that, guys, you're not going to master this right off the bat. Because you're trying to take this, it's easy to say, but we're trying to take this and incorporate it into your curriculum. Especially if you're a veteran teacher and you've taught for a while and you've got your system down, that's hard. That's a hard system it's hard to change that way. And I'm not asking you to do it overnight. What I'm asking you is the effort, to keep trying. to keep working on it. And I will coach you through this. I'll coach you through it. Top part. The top part's consistency. That's all it is consistency. Yellow is working on it. Green, we've had it consistent. That's the only difference. This, you're working hard and you're getting to that point. This, you're working toward mastery, and you're extrapolating, you're expanding on it. Biggest problem we have right now, when I look at my walkthroughs right now, one of our biggest problems is class transition. Huge issue in WASA right now. We're struggling with it. We're getting better, but we're struggling. That transition between closure, especially in the elementary, closure, announcement of the transition to the next curriculum area, and then boom, the bell ringer. We're struggling with that right now. We're getting better, but we're struggling with that right now. We're not good at it. I'm going to be honest with you. I have some teachers that are really masterful at it. I have some teachers that are struggling maybe with I got a lot of newbies. I've got 6 probationary right now, and so I have a lot of classes that in those 6 probationary teachers, they're still learning their classroom. They're learning classroom management. And so transitions are difficult for them. Right now, they're really not even focusing on it. Right now, I'm focusing on yellow and red for those guys, primarily red, because they're not there. The transition portion is not there. We're struggling with that right now. Some of the things that we're doing really well, what I'm excited for in WASA is we're getting really good at bell ringers and closures. We're getting really good at it. Across the board. Even my teachers who are struggling, and we all have those. We all have that teacher or two that that is maybe working hard, but is just trying to find their way. They're struggling. They may have they may struggle with kids. They may struggle with the classroom management portion. They may have a kid that's a behavioral child, or several kids that are behavioral children in their classroom, and so they're struggling to keep that classroom management, and as a result, things fall a little bit. But the nice thing is you're giving them a tool with that. Is you're giving them a tool to keep kids on task and keep kids motivated throughout the whole thing. Checking for understanding, consistently check for understanding. One of the things that, for me, the way it's helped me, is in walkthroughs. I'm going to be honest with you, I was not a very good walkthrough principal. I'm actually pretty poor at it. I did them, but I really never had. I literally brought along the Danielson model, which is like a 12-page evaluation model. And I would walk into a classroom and I'd do flipping through it, and I'd hit someone on this and hit someone on that, and talk about some good fluffy things. And I wasn't very good. It wasn't a very good coaching model. I struggled with it. I was really poor at it. I'm going to be flat honest with you. I was really poor at modeling instruction and coaching instruction for kids. How this helped me was that now I knew what my focus was. My teachers knew what their focus was. And I can go in and look at nothing more than a 5-minute segment and work on the red or the yellow right now. We don't work much green in WASA yet. We're not there. I got maybe 2 teachers I actually touch on green. 2 of probably my best teachers I work on green, but that's about it. The rest of them are yellow and red. Majority of them are red. When I do my walkthroughs now, I was one that would get hang up in the office. Things that I did to help myself with it is, unless it's an emergency, I told my parents I have this afternoon slot. I will work with you anytime this afternoon slot, but the mornings are for walkthroughs. I'll get in my office, I'll start up, I'll go do a walkthrough quick and come back. I used to try to make real fancy things on I had a Google Doc, I had all these really cool things. I never used it. Or I would occasionally, but it just was not time. So what I do now is I bring this. I just have it in my pocket. Beginning of the day, I walk through. I do a walkthrough. I also bring that cheat sheet. And I actually have it in a little index card. I shrunk it down. Have it in a little index card. I bring it around. What I do is I'll walk in the classroom, watch them for about 5 minutes, because then I can really catch within 5, maybe 7 minutes if I'm really watching intently, if they're checking for understanding. during the middle portion of it, if their wait time's appropriate, if they are engaging their class, if their kids are engaged. And what I will do is I'll write just a note. I saw this, really great job. Everything's tied to the pyramid. I don't ever go away from that, because if I do, they will. You did a great intro today. Your bell ringer was awesome. If nothing more they did than just did part 1 and 2 and did it to fidelity. Great. That's all I asked. Did a great job here. Maybe next time when you work on this, when you start doing, you check for understanding with a few kids, but there were some kids in the back that weren't engaged. Next time, watch those kids. Pull a sticky note on, put it on their desk, walk to the next class. I walk to it on lunch. When I do a walk, I might catch a group on my way back from the DL room, if the DL room goes down, which never happens by anywhere school but our schools. But and it made my job a lot easier. It made it less scary for me on how to do this. I want to show you a few things, a few cool things that my district is doing as far as bell ringers and closures. I want to give you yeah, why don't you pull that second one there? Yeah. This is my English teacher, Mr. Stevens. Second year teacher. Oh, that's pumpkins. That's not mine. There you go. He's doing really good things in English. He's doing pumpkins. We have Active Inspire. We have pre-team boards in each of our rooms. On his Active Inspire every day. He doesn't put it right up on a board, but he does this. How do you define effectiveness? Personal communication, freshman. This semester, it's freshmen that aren't in speech. So it's kind of a tough class. It's the freshman kids that don't want to go out for speech, aren't interested in that. So he's kind of got a hodgepodge. They take it because they have to have it for graduation. And we don't have those classes, those core classes, where those kids have to have that. And so for him, it's a particular challenge to get those kids interested and focused on what he wants them to learn. And so what he does with the warm-up, how do you define effective listening? As soon as they come in, he goes, take a look at the warm-up, guys, and when that bell rings, he gets about 10 seconds after that bell rings, and he says, okay, warm up. How do you define effective listening? They answer him quick, and he talks about his objective. And he has the 2 parts. What are we learning today, guys? One of the kids, well, today we'll learn this. Okay, what is it? What's the listening process? Why is it important? Why is it important for us? Why do we need to be listeners? When we are listening as an audience in communication, why is it, as a speaker, is it good to tailor your speech or your presentation to your audience? And he gets a response, and all of a sudden, boom, he goes into it. Okay, pretty simple, pretty effective. Another thing I want to show you, if I could show that closure video. Another video I'm going to show. I have a 4th grade teacher, 4th year instructor. She's one of those. She's one of those instructors that. When I talked about closures, I talked about closures at the end of each lesson, and then intro the next part. She took this a step further, which I thought was really cool. She does an end of the day closure. She talks to her kids. If you look back here, all of her, today we will learn, it says right up here, learning objective, today we will learn, and she's got all her different subjects. And then she works with her kids on what they learned for the day. And they do an exit ticket for everything they've done at the end of the day. It's pretty cool. One of the things that what's so cool about it, what I love, because it's so consistent, and that's the biggest thing, that's why she's working in the green in this area. She is so consistent. When she has a sub, she has a kid go up and do it for her. And same with every intro and every closure, the kids run her bell ringers and they run her closures for her. It's pretty cool. So you see she's doing several things here. She's doing a group, check for understanding, and she has taught her kids it's okay to say no. And so today, when I videotape this, you hear a lot of kids say yes, but I've been in that class and they close it, and I hear one kid go, And so what they do is they stop, and in that table group, they reteach quick, something quick. She actually may have a part, or she may do a peer-to-peer, and then check to make sure that peer-to-peer is taught correctly. If everyone says yes, they go in table groups and they expand on it. Okay, this is what I talk about. She took that pyramid and she extrapolated. She went further. And so by the end of it, and at the end, you can close her down, but at the end of it, what she does at the end is she just does an exit ticket at the end as they walk out the door. Bing, bing, bing. If those kids go over that exit ticket, she makes sure that they are correct. If that exit ticket goes home and a parent signs it, they get some extra stuff the next day. Not grade-wise, but at the end of 5 days, if they have a parent look at their exit ticket of what they've learned all day and talk with them about it, at the end of the 5 day they get to eat lunch in the classroom. Something small, but for a fourth grader, it's pretty cool. And so when I talk about this is something that was easy. We created to make things easy and streamlined for our teachers because we've thrown so much at them. We had to streamline it and to make it an effective instructional tool. It is available on the wiki. The nice thing about it is that if you would like to take something like that, take that model, use it in your school district. If you want to change it to see, we tailor this to the strengths and weaknesses of our school district. You may have different needs. If you want to use that, by all means, please do. But that's, like I said, it's something that helped us because we had to, if nothing else, we had to develop a common language of instruction. We had to. We threw so much at them. We had so much different language floating around. We had to make something simple for our teachers. And something simple for our kids. So our kids know what to expect classroom to classroom and it's consistent. That's really all I have. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.